All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today's informational webinar for phase 2 for the REX Before Recycling Prize. We are excited that you are here, and we're looking forward to telling you all about this amazing opportunity. My name is Kaylee Isaacs, and I am from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. I'm the prize administrator for the REX Before Recycling Prize. And today I am joined by Kate Peretti from the U.S. Department of Energy, the Advanced Materials and Manufacturing Technologies Office. And before we get started, a few housekeeping items. We have two options for audio. You can either listen through your computer or listen through your phone. If you have any questions today during the webinar, please utilize the Q&A feature that's at the bottom of the chat bar. We'll try to be answering as many questions as able, but all questions will be answered in writing and will be posted onto HeroX after this webinar. Probably about within a week, they'll be posted there. And then if you have trouble with the webinar today, you can't hear us, any type of technical issues, please chat us and we'll try and help you to the best of our ability. And then lastly, we will be posting this recording of the webinar along with the slides onto HeroX. And again, that'll be posted within a week. For our agenda today, we'll plan to cover the background of the REX Before Recycling Prize, an overview of the prize, phase 2 and what you need to know, phase 3 and what to expect if you are selected, how to get started, and then we'll be answering questions if we have time. The REX Before Recycling Prize was established by the U.S. Department of Energy's Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy and the Advanced Materials and Manufacturing Technologies Office. The prize is a part of the American Made Challenges program and is administered by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. And to help you be successful for this prize, please make sure you read the official prize rules before applying. The prize rules are available on our American Made Challenges website, as well as HeroX. You can find them on HeroX under the resources page. And again, please read these rules. I know they are lengthy, but they will be incredibly helpful for you as you apply for this prize. Now I'd like to hand it over to Kate Peretti from AMTA, who will be providing some background on the prize.
All right, thanks, Kaylee. Yeah, just a couple slides on giving the background of why we put together this prize in the first place. Background is, we rely heavily on resource extraction for our current economy, which is largely linear. So that means that we extract resources, we manipulate those resources in various manufacturing processes to provide, products that are then used and then discarded. And when they're discarded, they just are wasted. They go into the landfill. And it's sort of acknowledged that our rate of resource extraction is unsustainable. And that our ability to decarbonize the U.S. economy is really contingent upon us utilizing materials in a different way than we have in the past. And so developing these circular supply chains that allow us to reuse materials to displace this need for resource extraction is going to be a really critical component to that decarbonization of the U.S. economy. So we understand, one of those circular pathways is recycling, but there are other what we call REX pathways that are oftentimes have higher energy and emission savings and can be employed before you get to the true end of useful life of a material or a product, at which point it should be recycled. And so this prize is really meant to spur the development. I guess if you go into the next slide, one of the goals really to spur the stimulate innovation and spur investment in developing those circular supply chains that divert, what we had previously understood as end-of-life waste into more useful products, whether that be through reusing, increasing the number of times that it's reused, or repurposing it for a different application, repairing it so that it can be reused, and remanufacturing, utilizing parts or full products in a remanufacturing process to be able to use them. So yeah, what we're looking for in this prize is really, again, this spurring these innovations or expanding the use of existing innovations to access new markets, access new supply chains, because we are also acknowledging that many of these are regional by necessity, oftentimes. So expanding those to other regions is another part of the goals of this prize. All right, Kaylee, go ahead.
All right, Kate, thank you so much for those prize goals and letting us letting us know about the background of the prize. So let's get into what the prize is. So the REX Before Recycling prize is a $5.6 million prize with a total of $4.5 million in cash prizes and $1.1 million in technical assistance from national laboratories. The prize is designed to spur innovations to extend the lifetimes of products or parts to overcome difficulties with transitioning the U.S. from a linear to a more circular economy. This prize has 3 phases: identify, prepare, and develop. Phase 1, identify, opened on November 27th and closed on March 12th. In this phase, competitors identified a new or expanded REX supply chain opportunity, including potential community benefits, and created a plan to develop the innovation needed to realize the opportunity. We anticipate announcing these winners, phase 1 winners, in June. So this phase is currently closed, and now we are in phase 2. Phase 2 is currently open through the fall of 2024. In phase 2, competitors will begin deepening their insight into their opportunity, refining their plan, and activating a network of partners to help advance their innovation. And lastly, in phase 3, competitors will continue to progress to execute their plan and prepare for how they will continue their innovation post-prize. All right, and as mentioned previously, this is a $5.6 million prize. This table on this slide details the prize amounts for each of the 3 phases. So in phase 1, we'll be awarding up to 20 winners and $50,000 in cash and up to $5,000 of analyst consulting. And in phase 2, we'll be awarding up to 10 winners, and those 10 winners will get $150,000 in cash and up to $100,000 in analyst technical assistance to use in phase 3 develop. And phase 3 winners will receive $500,000 in cash, and that will be the end of the prize with up to 4 winners. And so in total, each competitor has the opportunity to win up to $700,000 in cash and $105,000 in national laboratory support. And Kate, I'm going to hand it back off to you.
Sure. Yeah, so a little bit more of a description of what we're offering as far as the technical assistance piece of the prize. We are sort of utilizing national lab resources in the area of life cycle analysis and techno-economic analysis to help the winners better understand the implications of the technologies that they're proposing and what the impacts of those technologies are, but also where in their supply chain or in the innovation from a techno-economic, like where the technical risks are and where the economic risks are in what they're proposing to do. And so that's that's sort of a summary of life cycle analysis and techno-economic analysis. So you can see here, when we talk about life cycle analysis, or LCA, it's really a methodology for assessing what those impacts are. And we, being the Department of Energy, often think about energy impacts, but it's also environmental impacts associated with the process that you're the product or the process that you're proposing. And then the techno-economic analysis, or TEA, evaluates the economic performance of a technology. And, you know, again, throughout that process, to better understand, you know, where the costs are coming in, where the risks are coming in, to help you further sort of target your development to improve the process in the long term. So I do want to flag that the technical assistance that we're offering really are just focused in these two areas of LCA and TEA, and not for other things like characterization or engineering design, or other sort of solving other science problems. Next slide. All right, so we've got two different topic areas for this prize. One is looking at established waste streams. So looking at the products, the goods, the materials that have been in, that we've been using and discarding for a long period of time. So think about, you know, the plastics, the paper, the textiles, the things that we already have sort of a backlog of waste within the system. And then there are emerging waste streams as well that we're interested in tackling. Things like clean energy technologies that may have a really long lifetime and are relatively early in their deployment cycle. And so we don't have huge stacks of waste piling up yet, but it's coming. And so we want to get ahead of those challenges. So those are the two different sort of waste streams that we're interested in addressing. Next slide. All right, and again, the areas of interest, or the pathways that we're interested in addressing through this prize are, again, either new or expanded supply chains that are enabling reuse, repair, refurbishing, remanufacture, or repurpose. So you can see the definitions are in the prize rules. The definitions are here on the slide. I don't need to go into it in too much detail. I would really strongly encourage you to look at the prize rules to better understand the distinction here between these pathways and, say, a recycling pathway, because it is something that we noticed in phase one came up again and again as maybe a point of confusion. So we tried to clarify that. And so I would encourage you to look at the prize rules to get clarification if needed. Next slide. So here are some examples of areas that we would be interested in seeing applications in. So extending the lifespan of clean energy technologies through refurbishing, for example, solar panels or wind turbines to enable their use in a second application, maybe somewhere else. Extending the lifespan of manufactured products and parts. So things like recovering and requalifying devices that have been discarded so that they can be reused either in full or in part. I don't know if that's on my, okay. I don't think.
Sorry, Kate.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Keep going.
Wasn't sure if that was me or, okay. So yeah, extending the lifespan of either, you know, the full product, a part of the product, or even a material that's a component of a manufactured product. Replicating and improving. So this is, again, this concept of we've trialed this, you know, reuse program in an urban area, and we're interested in piloting it in a suburban area to better understand you know, what unique challenges arise from doing that, or because we are improving based on what we learned in this initial rollout, we want to improve upon that process in a secondary application. So we're looking for those. Deploying new technologies. So I've improved this process via, this is a sorting, a characterization, a refurbishment, some improved technologies that you want to deploy that would increase the sort of the market, I guess, that you can access or that you can deploy recycle or refurbished or reused or whatever products into. And then also improving access to wastes and markets using, you know, improved analytics, data, logistics, sort of in an acknowledgement that, you know, this reverse logistics and engagement with customers, you know, when you're talking about these REX pathways, inherently you are dealing with a consumer that needs to do something in order to get that product good back, and so improving our abilities or the incentives to be able to do that is an important piece of actually getting these technologies and deploying these supply chains out in the real world. Next slide. All right, areas that we are not interested, or you know, types of applications we're not interested in seeing are those that really rely on recycling to be economically viable or to be deployable, and recovering materials for recycling are things that we're not interested in. So if your process involves grinding, shredding, remelting, you know, manipulating the bulk of whatever material that you're talking about, recycling is going to be considered by us to be recycling. And so we're again, really important processes just not being addressed through this particular funding mechanism. Not interested in innovations that are looking at redesign for things like recycling. We are interested in things that are redesign for, you know, enabling the reuse, repair, refurbishing, but not for redesign without, you know, the explicit purpose of unlocking these supply chains of interest. The types of feedstocks that we're interested in, we're not interested in food, yard, or other organic agricultural wastes. And we're also not interested in processes that rely on conversion of waste to fuel or energy. And if you want more details, as always, we encourage you to read through the official rules to seek clarification on, you know, anything more specific. All right, Kaylee, thanks.
Thanks, Kate. And yes, as Kate mentioned, please read the official rules for more information on what we are looking for, those areas of interest and not of interest. So for who can participate for this prize, the REX Before Recycling prize is open to private entities and non-federal government entities. This phase 2, is not open to individuals or groups of individuals. So you can read more about the full eligibility in the prize rules. If you were an individual in phase 1, you will need to partner or form an entity to be eligible for this prize, for this phase. So let's talk more about phase 2 and what you need to know. There are 3 goals of phase 2 prepare, and they are deepening insight, refining your plan, and activating your network. By the end of this phase, you should have deepened your insight into the environmental, economic, and community benefits of the innovation and REX supply chain through the use of National Lab Expert Analysis Consultation, if you're a phase 1 winner, or other resources. You should refine your plan for how to advance your innovation towards implementation in a supply chain based on progress made and insights gained, and cultivated a network of mentors and partners who will help you advance the proposed innovation and your understanding on how it will impact communities. Again, up to 10 winners will be selected at the end of this phase, and selected winners will receive $150,000 in cash and up to $100,000 in analyst technical assistance from a national lab. This phase is open to any competitor, so including winners and non-winners from phase one. So if you are a new competitor, welcome. You are, as long as you meet the eligibility requirements, you can participate in this phase. If you applied in phase one, you can also participate in this phase. This is not a down select phase. For our timeline, our phase launched on April 11th, excuse me, and we are expecting the submission deadline to be this fall, with announcement in the winter. Depending on when we do announce our phase one winners, we may have the submission deadline a little bit backed up. So we will again keep an eye out on HeroX for any major updates. We will let you know the exact date of this submission deadline. Those phase one winners, when it is announced, they will be able to use their $5,000 of analyst consultation from a national lab to use during phase two. The items that you need to submit for phase two prepare it are 5 items: a cover page, a 90-second online video, submission summary slide, analysis support work slide, and a narrative. Please note that the online video and summary slide will be made public, and you can find more information about these requirements in the official rules, but we're going to go into detail on some of these requirements. The first requirement is the cover page. This information will be collected through HeroX and is not a separate document upload, but you'll need to put information such as your project name, a 2-sentence description of your innovation, linking your 90-second video, your organization name, and so forth. Your next requirement is the 90-second online video. This video should answer the question, what is your innovation? Please make sure that you post your video publicly and it is accessible. If you competed in phase one, you submitted already an application in phase one, you're encouraged to update your previous video. We recommend that you focus on the required content and not on the production quality. And then as a reminder, this will be made public. Again, please post this to YouTube, Vimeo, somewhere where it is publicly accessible, because again, this will be made public. The third requirement for your submission is a summary slide about your submission. It should contain technically specific details, but can be understood by most people. And again, as a reminder, this will be made public. Your next submission requirement is the analyst support work slide. This should briefly describe any analysis that your team has already done, including insights or progress gained during phase two. You should describe how the technical support for analysis from a national lab will improve your innovation and its impact, and list your top 3 choices in order of preference and why. The purpose of this support work slide is to facilitate matching teams with appropriate national lab analysis support during phase 3. So please make sure you think about this. And for the support work slide as well, this is just detailing, again, any progress, any that has been done, or if you, any insights that have been gained. We are not expecting you to contact national labs. Again, if you are a winner, we'll be helping facilitate that. All right, the last required submission item is the narrative. In the narrative, you should answer the 5 questions. Each section or question has judging criteria along with it. The narrative should not exceed more than 5,000 words, and you may add up to 5 supporting images, figures, or graphs. There's also a template for you to use on HeroX. You can find it on the HeroX under the Resources tab, and this narrative will be scored. So those are the requirements for your submission. But one thing that we would like to highlight from the narrative is the community benefits plan that you will need to consider as you move forward to advance your innovation. Your narrative must address the community benefits plan and must address at least one of the following topic areas in your plan: diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, environmental justice, and workforce implications. You can find more information about the topics in Appendix B in the official rules. We also have the Community Benefits Plan information document on HeroX as an additional resource to help you develop your community benefits plan. As part of your narrative, you will be asked to identify and justify appropriate target metrics for your innovation and REX supply chain. To be successful, you should demonstrate pathways by which your innovation will reduce waste, promote greater resource productivity, show cost competitiveness, advance resiliency to resource scarcity issues in the future, and reduce environmental impacts of production and consumption. We have provided some example metrics to help you guide your metrics. And again, you can find those in Appendix C's in the official rules. And then again, the narrative is so important. So as a reminder, in your narrative, we would like you to expand on your SMART goals. When developing your SMART goals, each of the attributes such as specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based, that is a SMART goal. They should be relate to the same goal. So don't have a attainable that is not relevant to that goal. They should all be to one same goal. And then additionally, a committed to partnership or support letter is not required for phase 2 and is completely optional. However, for phase 3, you will need this. We want to bring this up now to our competitors to begin thinking about this committed partnership as you work through phase 2. In the narrative, since this is a scored item, each section is weighted, and we wanted to talk through how to read this scoring rubric to ensure your success. So in the left column here, you will be the topic you are addressing, as well as the weight percentage for that section. In this example, we have opportunity and innovation as the topic, and it is 35% weighted of your total score. In the middle column is the suggested content to provide. There are several suggested content bullets you could provide to address the judging criteria. And lastly, in the blue column here is what your score will be based on. You will see that judging criteria that the reviewers will use to score your submission. Each submission will be reviewed by a panel of reviewers who will score and provide comments. Expert reviewers will evaluate your submission by assigning a single score, 0 through 5, for each scored submission section based on their overall agreement or disagreement with a series of statements: strongly agree to strongly disagree. The final score from an individual reviewer will be calculated based on the weighting shown. All reviewer scores will then be averaged for a final reviewer score for the submission package. DOE is the final judge and will make selections based on reviewer scores and comments, as well as program policy factors. Additionally, the prize administration team may decide to hold interviews with teams to clarify any questions or information before announcement of winners. Interviews are not an indication of winning. Additionally, you will receive comments from reviewers. You will not receive your score, but you will receive those comments from our reviewers. HeroX is our prize platform and where you should complete your application. Only applications submitted on HeroX will be considered for this prize. You will need to create an account on HeroX to submit. So go to herox.com/rex before recycling to start your submission. And if you have not, if you did not apply for phase 1, you'll see a button that says solve this challenge. If you did already submit a application for phase 1, it will say begin entry or my entries, and you can click on that button to get started. If you have any questions on HeroX, our which is again our prize platform, please reach out and let us know. We'd be happy to help you and walk you through this. But this is free for you, but you will need to create an account to be able to apply for this prize. Moving on to phase 3 and what to expect. So during phase 3, develop, we will be focusing on demonstrating your innovation and how your innovation is making progress and executing the plan, ensuring your innovation can be implemented through your partnerships, and developing a long-term plan for your innovation so your innovation will be successful post-prize. In this phase, you must be a winner of phase 2 to compete in this phase. So unlike phase 2, where it's open to returning or new competitors, this one you will have to win phase 2 in order to compete. And in this phase, 4 winners will be selected and will have the opportunity to win $500,000 in cash. We're anticipating launching phase 3 in January of 2025 with an expected submission deadline in December of 2025. From January to December, the phase 2 winners will receive their $100,000 in technical assistance to use at a national lab. Competitors will be submitting 6 items for phase 3, a cover page, 90-second online video, submission summary slide, a committed partnership or support letter, an environmental questionnaire, and their narrative. Again, please note that the online video and summary slide will be made public. And you can find more information about these requirements and their details in the official rules. All right, now that you know more about this prize, you can get started. So we wanted to point out some resources for you first. If you're interested in connecting with other competitors to form a team and submit a package together, we recommend you check out our teaming tab in HeroX. You can fill out a form with some questions and access a spreadsheet with other interested competitors to find a match best suited for you. Also, stay tuned on HeroX for updates on teaming. We're planning a teaming webinar this summer to help you connect with other interested competitors. And again, this is just in terms of teaming. If you're maybe missing a gap in your innovation, and it would be helpful and make you more competitive to team up with another competitive that fills that gap, that's would be helpful for your application. That's what we would recommend in terms of that teaming. Additionally, as I mentioned earlier about the community benefits plan, we have that community benefits information document as a resource for you on HeroX. So go to HeroX and the resources tab to check out that document. So the next steps to get started on this prize. So first, follow the prize on HeroX. Again, you'll follow the prize, create an account on HeroX, and you'll stay up to date with that. This is also where we post all of our updates on the prize, where you can see when we announce phase 1 winners, or if we post any revision to the rules. We will post all of that on HeroX. So please make sure that you follow the prize and just stay up to date on HeroX. Very, very important, read the official rules for phase 2. This is going to answer most of your questions, we hope, provide you all the details for your submission and what we're looking for in your submission package. And then submit by, we don't again have our exact date, but it'll be this fall. We'll have that updated on HeroX again on that timeline tab. It'll be really important for you to stay up to date on HeroX there. And depending on when we announce our phase 1 winners, the phase 2 will be dependent on that. All right, so if you have any additional questions, you can post your questions to our HeroX forum. This allows for anyone to see your question and for us to post the answers publicly. So highly encourage you to post your questions on HeroX. Additionally, you can contact us at before.recycling@nrel.gov. We'll get to you within 48 hours. And yeah, so this is how you can get started. We hope to see your application in phase 2. We're going to do our Q&A now. If you would like to ask a question, please utilize the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please do not use the chat function as we may not see it, and also not all of our participants may be able to see that question as well. So please use that Q&A instead of the chat function. And also, questions may be answered live, but all questions will be answered in writing on HeroX. So if we do not get to your question today, we will be posting that on HeroX within the next week. And we will also be posting this webinar and the slides onto HeroX. This is recorded and we'll be posting it on HeroX shortly. All right. So for some of our questions here, one about if you are not a winner, are there any supports such as introductions or discounts with the national labs? Unfortunately, we do not have any. If you're not a winner, we don't have any connections or anything for national labs for you. If you are doing your LCA or TEA support, this is going to be on your own to do. And we're not going to be able to provide any national lab support unless you are a winner.
Haley, I'm just reading from the top down. I saw a question about updating your application as you continue to gain traction. I wasn't sure if this was a update from phase 1 to phase 2, or if it was asking more of a HeroX. I submitted an application early, but I want to update it based on newer information. So, yeah, so Kaylee, I don't know how the HeroX website works, if there's an ability to update previously submitted application materials.
So unfortunately, if you applied for phase 2, you'll have to apply for phase 2 with those different documents. Also, it's because it's mostly you're uploading different documents. However, if our submission deadline, I'm just throwing out a date, this is not true, but if it was like October something, and up until that date, you have all the opportunities to update your application. So, but once the submission deadline passes, you cannot update your application. So you can upload something right now onto HeroX and continue changing it up until our submission deadline.
Okay, there was a question. So I've seen a couple questions about sort of things changing between phase 1 and phase 2. And I would just say that phase 2 applications are standalone applications. We're not going to be looking back to see what you submitted in phase 1. We are just looking at the phase 2 application. So that application should stand on its own as far as justifying the impacts, and all of the things that we're asking you for should be part of the phase 2 application. And that phase 2 application should be unique and distinct from anything you provided in phase 1. We are not looking for any physical deliverables. I mean, I would encourage you to look at the prize rules to understand the evaluation criteria for phase 2. Really, what we're looking for in phase 2 is what similar to phase 1, as far as we want these technologies to be impactful. We want them to be viable in the marketplace. But we're also looking to see if you have been making progress towards building towards something that's viable, deployable. And so we're looking for you to update us on what progress you've made in the recent past towards deploying these technologies or this supply chain. I hope that's helpful. Let's see. Are all the questions, including the LCA and different organizations to choose from, available in a separate document so I can share them with collaborators? Working on stateside solution. I don't know the answer to that, Kaylee. I suspect they are not in a standalone. All of this material is part of the prize rules. Questions including the LCA and different organizations to choose from. I mean, so like the national labs that were listed on the slides, maybe it would be best to share the slides with your collaborators.
Yeah, and just I don't know, just to further expand on that, the analysis support work slide, that, we're looking for that information in terms of the LCA-TEA and the work you have already done, or have gained, or your insights gained during phase 2. But I would review the narrative, the analyst support work slide, in terms of like what the questions are that we're asking about LCA-TEA. And then that also the analysis support work slide has the labs that you can choose from for phase 3.
Yeah, there's a question about how many applications were received in phase 1. I'm not clear on how detailed information we can share on that, but just to say that it was a very competitive group. We received well over 100 applications. So yeah, it was a very competitive selection process. There's a question about the rules have been changed. I believe the rules have been updated once since phase 1 started, and we are anticipating another update to the rules coming out shortly. So I would just keep an eye out for any changes. Anything you want to add there, Kaylee?
No, you hit it on the nail. Just that. Yeah, please read the rules. There are some changes in terms of eligibility from phase 1 to phase 2, but also the phase 2 requirements in terms of the narrative that what we're asking for are different. So please make sure that you read phase 2.
Yeah. As far as letters of support for phase 2, if you're proposing a partnership, it's always good. It provides some I don't know, it makes us feel like it's a stronger partnership if we do see letters of support. If there is a partnership proposed, it's always nice to see those letters of support, but it's not a requirement. What type of partnership is expected for the letter of support or commitment of partnership? I mean, that all depends on what you're proposing. I would just say that the letter of support should match what you are proposing that partnership look like. But it could be very dependent on the supply chain that you're proposing. It could be a supply chain partner, somebody who's supplying you goods or who is welcoming an offtake of the goods that you're producing, or it could be any number of partnerships. So there's not, I think, not a one size fits all answer there.
And I would say also, please read phase 3, the rules there, and that requirement has a little bit more detail on that committed partnership.
This is a part of American Gem. Does the proposal evaluation sourcing products manufactured proposal evaluation criteria include sourcing products manufactured in the US for the project? I don't believe that is part of the evaluation criteria. I would encourage you to look. The evaluation criteria is definitely detailed in the prize rules, and I don't believe this is part of it, but I would encourage you to reference the prize rules to answer that question.
Yep, agreed.
Can you give an example of partners needed in phase 3? Yeah, so I'm going to say, Kaylee sort of answered this question about the partners needed in phase 3, so I would reference the prize rules for that. If you're already in operation but have lots of additional insights needed, can you apply for prepare? So if you are proposing, so if I go back to the examples that I gave, if you're proposing an innovation or an improvement to the operation that you already have that would unlock a broader set of materials or a broader market base, I would say that that innovation counts. And we're interested in seeing that type of application. Alternatively, if you are in operation and have insights that would enable application to a different set of materials or in a different location, or expanding that supply chain in some way, I would say that is also of interest. But if you are proposing to continue the exact same operation that's already up and running, I would say that doesn't meet the spirit of sort of developing innovations. What kind of teams? How are we doing on time? Okay, we have plenty of time. What kind of teams, partnerships are you seeking? I think this is another question around the phase 3 partnerships. So again, I would probably just point you to the rules there. Is there an expectation for pilot deployments during phase 2 or phase 2? So we understand that different innovations are sort of at different stages, right? If you're proposing a new supply chain versus expanding an existing supply chain versus, carrying a business model from a existing supply chain to a new one, all of those things are sort of at different, stages in development. So we're not trying to handicap anyone who's doing sort of first of a kind or that type of thing. So it's not a requirement to actually demonstrate anything as part of phase 2. So I think that's part of I think that's answering the question. Again, I think it's detailed pretty clearly in the rules that phase 2 is really interested in seeing a development. So seeing that you're making progress towards that deployment, towards that prototyping and that kind of thing. If we already worked with the National Lab, should we mention it and suggest that this prize could support further collaboration moving forward, or should we hold off on mentioning existing collaboration? I would include that information. I think it would be helpful for us in your submission on the, what support you need from the National Lab, because what we're using that information for is, for the applications that are selected, it will help us. We're doing the pairing, the partnering based on, the information that you provide us, like what you need versus what we know the resources are. So having that additional information could be helpful as part of that pairing process. So I would include it. How will you judge progress between phase 1 and phase 2? Should we state it explicitly in the application? Yeah, so I think there is a section of the application where we explicitly ask you about progress. We don't explicitly state between phase 1 and phase 2, but the intention is, in the recent past, because not everybody who is applying to phase 2 had applied to phase 1. And so, but we are interested in understanding what progress has been made in the recent past. And I think it's fair to state explicitly what's, the timeline as far as when that progress has taken place. All right, in terms of partnerships, it sounds like there could be 2 forms: combining as a team on a project, or 2 separate complementary projects with letters of support for each. I don't know, Kaylee, if you have any insight on the partnership piece.
Yeah, in terms of like teaming up with someone, so it would be better, I mean, if you're doing 2 separate projects and you're not working with one another, and it's different innovations, and you know one of another. I mean, this is a little bit more complicated. Again, when we were talking about like teaming up with another organization, entity, it's like thinking about what am I missing with my innovation? And is there a team out there that I can partner with that like helps with that gap, helps with what I'm missing in that innovation. That's what we're talking about. It's not just like, hey, I found 15 team members, now we're a larger team. Like that's not going to impact your application. It's more about thinking about what is missing with my innovation and how can I strengthen it? And can I use a partnership with that? Now, if you have an organization that's also interested in this prize, you cannot work for phase 2. You can only submit one submission per entity. So you can't submit 2 submissions or anything like that. So if it's, sorry, if you're working on 2 separate projects and they're different, you can support each other with letters of support there.
Okay, and then I see a question about if you have a recovery operation that's running, can you apply to discover new REX products? And I would say, again, we're interested in innovations that establish new or expand these REX supply chains. So as long as it's not recycling, if it's reuse, repair, refurbish, the pathways of interest, and it would be establishing a new or expanded supply chain for that, I would say that would be of interest. Okay, so Kaylee's answering that one. Apologize if I missed it. Will there be support from consultants again with our submissions for phase 2, like with phase 1? So yeah, Kaylee, can you answer that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have our Power Connectors ensemble in Yet 2 for not for our full phase 2. So if you would like to utilize those consultants, I would highly recommend you get in touch with them now because they won't be available for the full phase, but they can support you right now with any questions that you have. If you do have any questions or are wondering to get feedback, you can also post your questions on the HeroX forum. The HeroX forum is not only meant for us to answer your questions, but also for other competitors to talk, for you to communicate, talk about your innovations and collaborate as well. I don't see any more questions, Kate.
Might be. Yeah, I don't see any either.
All right. If we don't have any more questions, we will go ahead and stop our webinar early. But again, you can ask us questions through the HeroX forum. You can send us an email at before.recycling@nrel.gov. And we will be sending out this recording and the slide deck on HeroX. It'll be posted under the resources tab, and we'll be posting that in about a week. All of our questions that were asked today during the webinar will also be posted on HeroX. You can find them on the HeroX forum. You can also see any of our previous questions posted there as well. Again, thank you so much for attending this webinar today. We hope to see your submission for phase 2. Bye-bye.